me.
Moving on,
Current gen.
right? Yeah, back to the future. We got the Xbox and the PS5 UIs, right? They were both shown, they were both showcased and everything. But there was some news going around that was stating that the Xbox Series X and the S would be at 1080p
Their
in their
UIs,
UI,
yeah.
and that the PS5 was operating at 4K. So I mean, you guys tell me. You guys are more of the spec heavy dudes. So you guys tell me, like, how do you guys feel about that? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing for the Xbox because it's not giving you 4K? What how do you feel, Mark?
So for me, I'll just start by saying that when the production units come out, we can have a real. So this we're just kind of speculating if it were to be 1080 versus 4K, the pros and cons. So if it goes like this into launch, I would say that I wouldn't mind 1080p UI if that meant more solid frames, better performance for my system. So I would sacrifice how the UI looks because you only look at it when you boot up your system.
Yeah, a
when
couple
you're talking to
seconds,
your
you're moving on
friends.
to the game. Like that's the whole
If
thing.
it meant a noticeable increase to performance, then I'll sacrifice it all day. However, if it means no performance, if it's just their
there's
way
no
of being
increase?
lazy, like our Series S has to be 1080p UI, so let's just do a consistent experience, so we don't gotta do additional development for. I wish it was a more adaptive thing, like the Xbox Series X 4K, Series S 1080p.
Or if you could even switch it,
or if you could switch, it's like, hey, you'll lose a couple of frames or something. But I don't see why it shouldn't be 4K though. Like, I mean, I'm not like an engineer or something, but I don't see why the screen wouldn't be 4K. When you pause to go to the screen, it's my understanding, like on your computer, like you'll switch between what's in focus, and that'll get the resources. So if it means more performance, I'll take a 1080p screen. But if it's negligible, like 1 frames per second, give me the 4K because it's we're in 2020 now. You know what I mean? So that's my thoughts on it.
I think we owe this entirely to the Series S. I think this is Microsoft having parity between their two consoles. I think that the Series S can't really do that without dropping frame rates and affecting performance.
This is your 990p.
Yeah, it's my
thing.
it's my 900p Series S. I think that in order to keep parity, the same concept with why developers are going to have a hard time with that bottleneck on the Series S. I think there's something similar here. So I think it's more lazy. I think they could. I think they can have two separate whatever engines producing the 4K for the X and the 1080p for the S, and then no one would care. I think the problem is because the X is pumping out a 1080p UI. It is weird. Like, it will be jarring going from like a 4K full resolution game, and then I go home really quick and be like, whoa, you're gonna notice like a degrading of your image. You'll notice it. Words will get a little more grainy. A little more. You'll notice it. It'll be a noticeable transition. And so I just think it makes it feel a little less premium. So like as you're playing the game, the Series X will feel a little less premium than the PS5, unless the PS5, like the current PS4, when you press the PS button, there's this little lag to get to the home screen, and you're like, come on, it's all glitchy and slow. And the Series X isn't. It's perfectly seamless and smooth. Then I'm along the lines of like Mark. Then I think I would rather have a perfect and seamless experience and have a little less resolution to get that seamlessness versus this clutter that may happen because it has to drop frame rates and everything and to get me to a 4K UI. But if it's not, which I don't think it will be, I don't think the PS5 will have a problem going in between the two just seamlessly and having 4K.
That would seem like an ultimate fail, right? If
it was
lagging in that,
seem
but
like
it doesn't
a fail.
lag in like your game switches and stuff like that. Like,
and so I think that's more so like what this thing is. It feels like a fail. Like, come on, this is next gen and your UI's at 1080p. I mean, that's kind of crazy. That's not even 1440p, like full resolution. Like, it's just weird, that. And the only way that I can understand or explain it is that they're just they're being lazy and they're having the same exact system across both their consoles, the S and the X. So I wouldn't be surprised, like Mark was saying, is if all of a sudden the consoles launch and Microsoft puts some patch out to upscale it on the X, but not the S, and you don't have an issue anymore. That's what I think this is. Because it would be weird, dude. It would feel weird you're gonna just like, what the heck? I'm paying for this expensive Series X, and I feel like I just degrade my grain when I'm going in and out of games. Yeah. It'd be weird.
The weird thing is, I would have expected PlayStation to do this because all the cards, all these videos, like
you seem like it would be busy, right?
Yeah, like there's all these things
on the processor. Yeah.
On the PlayStation that you're gonna do on the UI, and the Xbox, you're not gonna be watching videos, during your gameplays. You don't have all these cards, but the PlayStation,
but you do have your
that's a great point.
Your quick resume, right? Your quick resume is probably gonna take like a large majority of the RAM.
No, I think like the PS5, it's actually very impressive, right? Because that means when you're going out to look at your cards and to watch the little videos, like inside the cards, it's all going to be 4K. Like that's awesome.
Yeah.
So like the PS5 needed to have the 4K UI
because you would have noticed.
You would have noticed. It would have been jarring.
Watching the videos going and the cards and stuff
from Little Big Planet or whatever you're playing at that high, clear, crisp. I mean, you're not going to be able to barely see deviations in the lines at 4K. Like your eye won't be able to see it. But dropping back down to 1080p, you'll notice. Yeah. It's not going to be like impossible to watch like a VHS tape.
No.
But it's just going to be, you'll notice it. It'll
like
be a little jarring,
television.
Where on the PS5 you won't notice a thing. It's just going to be seamless and smooth. And so Xbox has to fix this problem.
I got you,